I think their running stats are the highest in the division. So, that's just the way they play, Leroy. They get after every team. And I think United did well to match them there. But I think mistakes cost them early on in the game. Turnovers and possession, maybe one or two Phillips out of position. Look, they're brilliant at what they do, but they play a bit dangerous, don't they, Leroy? And if you get picked off against a team like United, then you're going to suffer. And once you get one down and you're chasing the game, then it's hard.
I think you're absolutely right. It's amazing how 10 yards can make a massive difference. And you saw it in your analysis then. If the back four just went 10 yards further forward, it means that when they lost possession, one of the back four could actually go and engage. But because they're 10 yards too deep, that's why they're always running back to their goal. And I think you showed it in the analysis brilliantly.
Yeah. Would you change much, Leroy, if you and Marcelo Bielsa? Would you change much, or would you just say, no, this is the way I do it, this is what I do, I'm going to get a hiding when it doesn't go right, but when it does go right, I think I can win matches? What would you do?
I think Olele mentioned it in his question. They seem to be getting tired. What I would do, I rotate a little bit more than Bielsa does, because in previous seasons, Andy, certainly in the Championship, they've run out of steam. And they are getting tired. When they play like they do, week in, week out, people like Bamford seem to play every week. Phillips seems to play every week when he's fit. I would rotate it a little bit more if he wants to get the best out of this squad. You watch this Leeds team. If he keeps that starting 11, I think you'll see them just run out of steam towards the end of the season.
Talk to me about Scott McTominay's performance, Leroy, at the weekend, because obviously he caught the eye with his goals, but his all-round game as well was excellent, wasn't it?
Absolutely outstanding, Andy. And there was a performance I didn't see coming, in all honesty. I love to see midfield players not only get forward, but get beyond the front players, and Scott did it brilliantly. Look, I'm just going to got this clip here, and I'm just going to pause it here, because what we got used to, and I was really surprised, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said he used to be a centre-forward, he's a number 8, he can do this all day long. I'm just going to highlight Fred and McTominay, and when they've played, that's where they've been throughout the game, even in possession of the ball. Bruno Fernandes has played in front, Pogba has got forward, but these two guys have been asked to sit for the most part and be that shield. But this is more like what I expect from Man United. And he sees the space in front of him, and he's an athletic lad, he's a big lad, and he just makes up the ground, and it's a wonderful strike, obviously. And that gave him the confidence to get forward. I like this even better, because this is something I didn't see from him early on in the season. He makes that run into that space, which is brilliant. He recognises the space, and he gets into it brilliantly. What I like as well is watch what Fred does. This is how midfield play should work. One should get forward and one should support. And it's as simple as that. And I think they should work like this all the time. You'll find that not only McTominay, but Fred will get more opportunities. And this touch, I'm going to slow it down because it's a wonderful touch. If that's Martial, if that's Pogba, we're saying it's world class. It's a world class touch. Makes it look very easy, but it's really amazing when players are confident in the things they do. And he did that brilliantly, and it's a wonderful finish. And it's something I want to now see more of. I want to see McTominay getting in the box. His athleticism from midfield was outstanding. And what it did for Man United as a team, I don't know if you remember, Andy, I did a thing on Man City and the five lanes, Andy, a few weeks ago. Man United, because he got forward, they were attacking on 5 fronts. There's the 5, 3, 4, 5, and they were leaving the 5 behind. And all of a sudden, I know this was Leeds and they allowed them to get forward, but that's what Man United fans want to see. They want to see 5 and 5, especially at Old Trafford. And we saw it in abundance, obviously because Leeds allowed them to. Now, I think this needs to be a catalyst for Man United and McTominay to say, look, should he be getting double figures in goals? Should he be thinking about, if he can do that, if he's got the athleticism to get up and back and run with the ball like this, look at them, look, they're like the flying arrows there, look at them go. And again, I'll just pause it there. Look at the back 5. That's how Man United should be. They should be like that, with one in front all the time, and then, if they can, get the fullbacks getting forward, because that's what we expect from a Man United side. And that's what really pleased me about their performance this weekend, Andy, more than anything.
Very good. In many ways, Owen, Leeds were the perfect opponent for Manchester United because they dominate possession, because they come flying at you. They give all those spaces, don't they, for McTominay and those midfield players to dominate. Can United, with Scott McTominay and Fred in the middle of midfield, because one of the things, Leroy, that's often put about Manchester United is, Owen, can they dominate possession and win a game? Can those guys be the architects of something very, very clever and dominate the ball, a la Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne and those sort of guys? Can they do that?
I don't see that. You know, I love Scott. I think he's a really good player. I think they've asked to. I think he could be he plays centre back for Scotland, but I think his greatest attribute is to run. And Leroy showed it great on those clips. The fact that he's really transitioning. He's a big lad. He's like 6'3". You know, when he gets moving, he's hard to stop. So I don't think you want him to sit. I think you want him to do that. He could be a Jordan Henderson type player. I think he really could grow into that and develop that. But I think in terms of dominating possession now, Fred and Scott can't really do that. That's why you should play Bruno and Paul. But then you need a world-class defensive midfield player to go with that, like
right.
a Kante type with that front three. So I think Oli played that way out of respect for Leeds. That's how good Leeds are. That's why Paul didn't play, Paul Pogba, because he was worried about being too open with the front three with Fernandes and Pogba. And that's why Scott played. And, you know, maybe they'll play different in the next game. But to dominate, you need more flair players like Pogba. And I think Fred and McTominay are great at make them the best counter-attacking team in the Premier League.
Yep.
But as Leroy showed there, but to dominate possession, no, I don't see that happening.
No. Leroy, you got a question?
Yeah, a couple of quick questions for Owen. Ruby D says, why doesn't Lampard and Arteta get as much scrutiny as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at United?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, you know, I think since he's come into the division, I think especially since Bruno Fernandes come in, Leroy, I think they'd be second, you know, in the Premier League. So I think Man United's one of the biggest clubs in the world, you know, and everybody seems to have an opinion. And I think because you think about the managers he's beaten, Leroy.
Yeah.
You know, he's beaten Pep, he's beaten Tuchel, he's beaten some of the best managers we've seen. Klopp, he's beaten everyone. So if he can beat the best teams, the best managers, then I think he's doing a great job.
I mean, again, look, this graphic here, Owen, showing that since pretty much the same time as where we are now 2 years ago, only Liverpool and City have acquired more points than the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United. And
let's be honest, you know, and like you said yesterday, the goal is to be the top, but the problem is it's step by step. Man United are behind Liverpool and City because of recruitment and because they're not really together on a page in terms of how they're acquiring players and building the team. But that is about the best Man United can do right now, in my opinion. To be third with all the firepower that everybody has and all the money being spent, that tells you Ole is in the place that he should be. They're not good enough to win the league.
No.
You know, and they're not the second best team either. No. So third is about right, and the points don't lie.
Leroy, one more?
Well, I was going to ask this question, but Owen, you just answered it. You just said they weren't good enough to win the league, and Kevin says, Owen, with this latest result, can United make a serious challenge for the title?
I hope so, but I don't think they'll have enough over a 38-game season. You've got to remember, Leroy, you know, after 6 games, they had lost 3. You know, everybody was really worried. 2 weeks ago, they went out in the Champions League in not great fashion. They've been slightly inconsistent, but the thing is, they're the form team right now in the division, and I think if they can continue in this fashion, you know, they'll be one of the best teams. But I think we've seen Liverpool are the strongest team and the most consistent.
Great stuff, Leroy. Thank you very much. Now, we've got a little quiz question for you before we get to the break. We're going to focus in part 2, of course, on that